Every month, Full Circle is thrilled to draw from a panel of experts on topics ranging from finance to fitness. And now adding to that group is our medical go-to guy, Dr. Dan Reilly. Dr. Dan, welcome to Full Circle.
Great, thanks to be here.
So good to have you. Okay, I hope you're ready.
Are you ready?
Now, I
I'm
just have
ready.
to say, okay, now your specialty, you're an OB-GYN. You
That's
focus
correct.
on women's health
Yep.
issues, and today we're going to talk about different health risks for women at different stages of life.
Yep.
And so we're going to start with who I like to call the young ones. That would be women from their teen years into their 30s. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I think thanks to good public health and good sanitation and good care in pregnancy, the chance that something will happen to the young ones is actually incredibly small, which is wonderful. It's part of the blessing of living in Canada. And what people may not realize is actually the main dangers at that stage of life aren't really medical dangers. The chance that something bad is going to happen is very small, but if something bad happens, it's usually related to your car, some sort of car accident, some sort of trauma, or it's related, unfortunately, to domestic abuse, so not being safe at home. It's related to skiing and biking, being active and not wearing a helmet. And it's also related to just being safe, and that's the key. The other part of being safe, of course, is being safe emotionally, because suicide's a big issue at that age. So the biggest dangers for the young women in my practice are things I can only sort of address in the office. It's the rest of their life. It's being safe in the rest of their life. That's the key thing. And they're all worried about cancer or heart disease or these big things that become important later, but I'm worried about, are they safe when they drive? I'm worried about, are they choosing to smoke or not smoke? I'm worried about their partner and how is he with them? And I'm worried about their mood and how they're coping with life and all of the challenges that come with being a teenager and a woman in her 20s and 30s.
Now, for teen years, though, I found that, I work with youth, is that I've seen a lot more spike in depression that's happening. Now, I was faced with depression. I was in my late 20s, but it's sort of shocking to see that more young women are dealing with depression and even more, and I think more eating disorders as well. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think society puts a lot of pressure on young women. The media certainly portrays young women in a certain way, a very sexual way, and there are these bodies that they look at all the time and that aren't really healthy bodies and that aren't really normal bodies, but that's presented as this is the kind of body you should have, right? And women, these young women, if they don't have other women in their life saying you can be a healthy woman and have a different shape of body, they feel pressure. And you've got to do some pretty extreme things to even try to look like that. And if you don't achieve it, then you start to feel very negative about yourself. And so I think what we can do, if you have young women in your life, is come alongside and say, this is what the media shows you, but that's actually not healthy. What's healthy is eating regularly and exercising and getting enough sleep. And if you're doing all of those things, you're healthy. And the way your body looks is the way your body looks. And I love and accept you even though your body may not look like that. And if you're struggling, then talk to me, right? Tell me about how you're feeling. And that keeps those women safe. And they need those women in their life doing that.
I have to admit, I'm kind of addicted to all the doctor shows on TV. So I'm really glad that I was chosen to be on the couch today.
Yeah.
And one thing I always hear is that you need to be in tune with your body. You need to listen to your body. And I know a couple years ago I was diagnosed with Crohn's. And I realized, yeah, I really need to listen to my body and what my body says is good and not good, and really receive that. How important is that?
I think that's important at every age to, if you're tired, you're probably not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're hungry, then look at how you're eating. And if you find that you can't focus, then again, how are you spending your time? And are there too many things going on at the same time, right? As you guys learned about multitasking. Well, you get enough things going on and you do none of them well. Right? And then as one gets older, you need to more and more to be seeing a family doctor on a regular basis to say, what at this stage of my life do I need to be paying attention to? Most things that get you into trouble you actually are aware of, even though you may be denying it. So it may be somebody coming alongside you say, you're tired all the time. How much do you sleep? Oh, I haven't thought about it, right? Or you don't seem to have a lot of energy. Tell me about how your diet is. So paying attention to all that stuff is important, and having other people looking in on you, friends who can see you, but also a good family doctor is really important.
That's really important, the family doctor
Yes.
thing. Talk a little bit about that, because I know for me it's been hard finding a family doctor that's going to listen to me and not say, because I've had family doctors that will say, oh, you're young. Don't worry about it. And totally missed my whole Crohn's diagnosis until I went to another doctor and found that I had Crohn's. So how important is it for a doctor to listen to you and to find that doctor?
Well, I mean, I think that if you want to understand where any person is at, you get there by listening to them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's no different if you're a physician. And you will find that good family doctors have an ability to hear you well. And some people get very busy and they're about getting through their day quickly in medicine and in all other aspects of life. And what you need is you need to find somebody who you connect with. And it may just be a connection thing too. Right? Everybody, you may not connect with everybody equally well. So I think it's fair to say, this is what I'm expecting, this is what I'm hoping for, and then to, when you meet a potential family doctor, say, this is what I'm really hoping we can do, how are you with this? And if that communication goes both ways.
So that's interesting,
helps.
so you can bring a list or expectations to your doctor. Wow.
And I think it's helpful to let him know that, or her know that, right? Because they may have a different understanding of what you're looking for from them. And if you make it explicit, then they can focus there, or they can say, you know what, I don't think I can do that for you.
I'm in my mid-40s. Let's talk about the health risks that we face.
So mid-30s to somewhere in your 60s or 70s, the number one serious health is cancer. Which I think most women in their 40s and 50s who know a friend who has been unwell, cancer probably was what it was about. And that's the main challenge. And this is, I think, where paying attention to your body is important, but also having a family doctor who knows when he or she needs to start looking into your body is important. So if something doesn't feel right, or there's a lump somewhere, to not ignore it, to get it checked out, to get it looked into. And also to look at what you can do to keep yourself healthy. So again, diet and exercise, we keep coming back to diet and exercise, but it does lower your cancer risk. We think of it in terms of heart and stroke, and if I say healthy, my blood pressure, but it also lowers cancer risk. From a fairly young age, from when you become sexually active, you need to be getting a pap smear every year for a few years, and every 2 to 3 years. Around 50, you start with mammograms. Around 50, you start looking for colorectal cancer. And your family doctor is the person to know, based on your family history, and the cancer in your family history, whether you follow the guidelines or whether we need to modify things a little bit for you. Maybe because of some aunts that had this or that, you need to start something a little earlier, or you need to be watched a little more closely. So cancer is the big concern here, and that's still around living healthy, but also starting to do the screening that we know reduces your risk as you enter that stage of life.
So will your family doctor tell you that? So do you need to see your family doctor once a year?
So that's usually how it's done. Is once a year you go in for a check, and it's good to check in once a year. We check in once a year with your financial advisor. You check in once a year with lots of people. So once a year with your family doctor, say, well, I'm a year older now. What do we need to be thinking about in the year ahead? All right, and he's going to do things like check on your blood pressure, and at some point starts PAPs, at some sort starts a breast exam, starts doing all these things to start watching, because at different stages of that 30 to 40 years, there's different cancers you worry about, and which cancer you worry about depends also on your family history. So knowing that in your family, say breast is the bigger concern, or colorectal is the bigger concern, and that's having somebody keep track of all of that's important. And also
So
knowing that history is
I was
important.
going to say,
Exactly.
knowing your medical history, because I don't think a lot of us do know our medical
Okay, but now, speaking for the vast majority of us who are in my seat right here, let's talk about the M word, menopause.
Yes.
What do we expect? Because I have to tell you, like my mom, told me that menopause was kind of over and done with her right around 51. And I'm assuming that meant that the monthly cycles had stopped and all of that. But you say that actually menopause starts much younger than that, like in the pre-menopause, all of the symptoms, because I've been having like the night sweats for 5 years. Like, let's just be honest here, okay? Can we talk? And seriously, how long does that go on for?
Every woman is unique. Unfortunately, the average age for your last period in Canada is 51, but the sort of 2 standard deviation sort of average is 5 to 6 years. So anywhere from your mid-40s to your mid-50s, it's sort of normal to have your last period. And for a number of years before your last period, you start to notice your hormones are changing, right? You're not ovulating every month, so you may not have a period every month. That starts to change. Your body starts to notice that estrogen's sort of all over the place, and that's the hot flashes and night sweats. And that starts before, and when you're there, we can call you perimenopausal. You're in the time of the transition, and then your last period happens, and then things start to settle. But it may again be a few years after that before everything is completely done. And so that may be, for some women, a process of a few months. It may be, for some women, a decade.
I have a really good friend that I work with here who is now 60, 61, and she still has hot flashes. I can see her peeling off her sweater and fanning herself, and you know, when will that end? Or is it, do some women just have hot flashes forever?
Some women it is forever. So about 1 in 10 80-year-olds still has some hot flashes and night sweats.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is 90% of them don't.
Yeah.
So the good news is,
Yeah.
the average, when you have your last period, on average 2 to 3 years later, the hot flashes and night sweats are settling out. But that's only half of women. Half of women have longer than 2 to 3 years. And so it, again,
okay,
we don't
one
know.
more thing on the whole menopause thing. We had a guest with us, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago in Full Circle, and she and I, she's a little bit older than me. We were talking in the green room about menopause. That's what we talk about when you're my age, girls, okay? So just be ready. And she was saying the menopause middle. Like that is that weight gain in your middle that you just can't do anything about. You're not eating any more than you ever did. You're not eating unhealthy. You're not eating at midnight. It's just all of a sudden these 8 to 10 pounds are there.
And again, as we talked about earlier, metabolism continues to slow. And if there's a sudden change in your body associated with hormones changing, then that may be a sudden thing that you notice all of a sudden you can consume fewer calories in a day and still put on weight.
Yeah.
And it has to do with how efficient you are.
So
The universe is not the way it should be.
How do we, though, is 30? I know, I'm just saying, right there, like, so how do we get ready for that?
Yeah.
Or how do we say, no, I don't want that? Like, how does that work?
It's again paying attention, right? Are you aware of what your weight is doing, whether your weight's going up or down? Are you aware of how your diet may be changing? Are you aware of how you might not be prioritizing exercise the way you used to, right?
So
that your life is slowing down.
Yeah, can we prepare?
Can you eat?
Well, if you're eating healthy, so healthy women have easier menopauses. So women who are a healthy weight and who exercise regularly and get a good amount of sleep have an easier menopause. Non-smokers have an easier menopause. So certainly all the things that are good for your health in general may make the menopausal transition easier. And some women, that's a transition that they need help with. They need to see somebody like me to talk about, this is messing with my life, I'm doing everything right, and I need help. And that's something a doctor can assist with.